Well, well, well. From excitement to utter dejection and back to elation, all within the span of about 3 hours yesterday in Death Valley, Clemson, South Carolina. Gamecocks win the Palmetto Bowl. Heartbreaker for the Clemson Tigers, 17-14. And just when it seemed as all would be lost, then the Syracuse Orange pull it out of the flames and help send Clemson to the ACC Championship game. So we're going to talk about everything that went right, everything that went wrong yesterday in the Palmetto Bowl, but what the Clemson Tigers have to look forward to next Saturday in Charlotte, all right here on this episode of Around the Paw. Well, guys, needless to say, yesterday did not quite go how probably many expected and what all Clemson fans hoped. I'll tell you, I'm still, when I sit back and I'm a very analytical person, I replay these things through my mind, what Clemson could have done, where this went right, where this went wrong, how could the game have turned that would have made the final outcome any different. And I'm honestly at a loss for what I witnessed yesterday. It hurts to lose. It hurts 10 times worse to lose to South Carolina. And call a spade a spade. That is a game that the Clemson Tigers, under zero circumstances, should have ever lost.
I mean, that's been a narrative for a lot of these other games that Clemson has played since 2021. And that's, if you're looking for a common narrative, why Clemson's losing football games over the last 3 games, why ever since Trevor Lawrence left, that whole reason, this is the perfect example of why Clemson are in the state that they are, is that they can't finish games and they can't win the big one. You look at their biggest opportunity this season, Georgia put up a stinker. Last year, you look at the games, Florida State, able to do that, and you were up. You were up in that game too, about to make it a 2-score game, and you just blow the lead. Same thing goes, 2 years past. Looking at South Carolina again, potential chance to make the playoff, blown out. This is the final lifeline, and thanks to Syracuse for doing that. Fran Brown, Kyle McCord, such a huge game for that program. But at what point are you going to point the finger at? Who are you going to point the finger at, and when are you going to start pointing that finger? Because if you're not able to finish as a whole team, it's not the players. And if it's been going for 3 years straight and 3 seasons straight and you're getting the same results, it's not the players. There's got to be a finger pointed somewhere else. But again, we were talking about this beforehand. It was an incredible game. I went as a fan, and I had the time of my life. But just again, seeing the result as it is, it's not fun.
Nah, I was up in the box and watching it, and man, it went like you said, Garrett, it went from, hey, we're up, 14-7. We hold them to 7 points halfway through the fourth quarter. And then we let them score the last 10 points of the game. And Cade makes one bad mistake at the end of the game. And we were lined up for that field goal to tie the ball game, and he just makes one critical bad mistake. And he's not the reason we lost this ball game.
No.
I'm not saying that.
Agreed.
No, I'm not saying that at all. So don't hear me wrong. We couldn't stop Lenore Sellers. And like we talked about, we let one person beat us. And Lenore Sellers has great legs. And he didn't do a lot passing yesterday because I guess he didn't have to. But, man, we could not tackle. And when it was critical for us to tackle, where was Sammy Brown? Wasn't in the game. Why?
Right. And
I still don't understand
some thoughts
that.
on that here in a second.
Yeah, I still don't understand that either. So, don't understand that call, and was on a press conference with Dabo today, and he said it was a coaching decision, and there's nothing else to say. He said there's nothing else to say about it. He said it might not have been a good coaching decision, but it is what it is, and that was that was almost word for word a direct quote. And so, I mean, it was just, you just shake your head. Like, when they were going down the field, I was just doing this. I was like, here we go. And I was like, don't do this to me. Don't do this to us again. And it happened.
Well, gee willikers. Hindsight's always 2020. Sammy Brown was the best defensive player on the field yesterday for either team.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's easy for us as armchair coaches to sit here and say you should have done this or you should have done that. Or how's this? We can trust what our two functioning eyes tell us. Sammy Brown was the best defensive player in Death Valley yesterday afternoon. Bar none, period. Break it down. When he was on the field, South Carolina, not only did they not score, they didn't pee a drop.
Mm-mm.
When he came out, and as Dabo Swinney said, they took him out of the game because they assumed or they thought that South Carolina was going to start showing some different looks on offense. And they had these different packages, which did not include Sammy Brown. Guess what? South Carolina never changed a thing.
Mm-mm.
They did not change a single thing about what they were doing. Clemson did. They took the one player who was making the biggest difference out of the game, and he never came back in. Yeah,
and after not playing pretty much the whole fourth quarter, he still ended up with the most tackles in the game.
And Griffin alluded to this, and I'm going to expand on it just for a second and kick it back to Griff. But it's beyond the point. You don't blame the players. The players do as they're told by the coaching staff. The players take on the personalities of their coaches. It's past the point of being a trend or being a fluke that this Clemson team can't tackle. The talent level, and I'm going to tell you guys the same thing I told other people. The talent level is exactly the same on this defense as it was when Brent Venables was the defensive coordinator at Clemson University. It's all 4- and 5-star guys. It was all 4- and 5-star guys then. A Brent Venables defense was fundamental. They were physical. They were aggressive. They were tenacious. And when they had a player like Lenoris Sellers in a dragnet of 5 defenders surrounding him, all of whom had hands on him, then those players didn't get free.
Mm-mm.
At some point, the blame has to go to the top. And if that's Wes Goodwin, then so be it. I personally, and this is my opinion, a change has to be made. If there is not a change anywhere else, it has to be made on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yep.
With how college football works nowadays, if it doesn't work, you got to get rid of it as quick as you can, or you got to switch it as quick as you can. That's why the transfer portal has been so beneficial to different teams across the college football, especially the big ones. I mean, you're looking at teams like Oregon, Ohio State, even in the ACC. Look at Florida State last year, who were able to just revolutionize with just a bunch of key players. And if one coach wasn't working, they were gone. Another was put in right on the spot. I'm not saying who you need to point the finger at, because that's not my job. My job is just to talk about the game and what I thought, what happens. But there has to be something that changes in terms of execution. You can talk all you want behind closed doors and in the press that, hey, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and we're going to win. You got to show it on the field. And if you take one or two of those Lenoris Sellers huge rushes, and maybe Peter Woods or Wade Woodhouse, whoever was on the quarterback, got a hand to him, brought him down, that would have changed this whole game. Because there were several times where it was always happened in the end that I was in the student section I was sitting in, that there were 2-3 guys that turned on and were able to get on him, but Sellers just left. That's a tackling issue. And that's an issue that has been here, at least for me, over the last 2 years. The Duke game, week 1, couldn't stop the run, couldn't get tackles. Georgia couldn't stop the run, couldn't get tackles. And even Louisville too. That's been the prime issue here, is that they can't contain these high-powered offenses with dual-threat quarterbacks. And guess what? I'm not going to allude to next week already, but look who you're playing next week. The team that has the third most scored. Exactly. You got to find some way to do it because they just are going to extend plays because that's how good these teams are. That's an SEC team right there. You weren't able to show it. That's what I think.
Yeah, and my thing is, I agree with you, Griffin, that, if we just – I was willing going into the game to give him 100 yards. I was willing. Give him 100 yards. Don't give him any more. And because I think at 100 yards or less with him rushing the ball, we still win that ball game. We have to contain him and not let him go for a 150 or 166 like he did. And it happened. Like you said, 1 or 2, maybe 3 more tackles. And Sammy Brown would have got those tackles. He would have only been the only one that got those tackles. And I'm like you. I will live and die on that hill that it was a bad decision to take Sammy Brown out of the game. And
the bad thing is there was still time to correct it.
Yeah. And
there was still time to fix it, and you didn't fix it despite what was being played out right in front of you. That is what I have a problem with.
I told Anthony when we were sitting in the box, I said, "Is that Callan Griffin in the game?" I said, "Why is he in the game?" When I saw him, I was like, "Why is he in the game?" I was like, "Where's Sammy Brown?" And you saw him the rest of the game, and I was like, "This is not good when he's in the game. Not going to be good."
Well, one more point I do want to make on the South Carolina game, and then we are going to move on and talk about the good, and that's the fact that Clemson is playing for an ACC championship and, again, a spot in the college football playoffs this coming Saturday. That's a great thing. Look, you got another mulligan. You get another chance to pull it out of the fire and take advantage of it, but this is another point I want to make on Saturday. In the first half, and really through the first drive of the third quarter, when Clemson came out after halftime and put together a beautiful drive. It was a great drive and scored. Everything that Clemson did offensively through 2 quarters and through the first drive of the third quarter that worked, they quit doing it. They just quit doing it.
Except for the last drive.
The deep ball was there. The deep ball worked.
Yeah.
You could throw on them. We quit trying.
I said that going into the game.
Conservative with a 7-point lead. Cliff, you can't do it.
I said that going into the game that, their defensive line, and this is something else I'm going to say about their defense. Okay. And I don't think their defensive line is as good as everybody says it is because we manhandled their defensive line. Our offensive line
Shout out to the offensive line, man, for the Clemson offensive line.
Yeah, they manhandled.
Did a phenomenal job.
They manhandled their defensive line. So I don't know if the SEC is just bad or I just didn't see it. They might be good, but they didn't show it Saturday. So
I'll put my 2 cents in here. The SEC is the best conference in college football. I'm going to put it at that. They're going to have multiple teams in there. I'm going to give more credit to the Clemson offensive line. They had everybody back. There wasn't any injuries. Marcus Tate and Tristan Lee were back, which was huge. Walker Parks was healthy, which was huge. Those were the same 5 guys that you saw against Georgia, and all of us talked about this week 1, saying that the Clemson offensive line looks good, and it continued to look good. This was just the first time it was back and was gelling together. But, I mean, this is the final thing I'll say about this, but you have had chances in every big game that you have been in to put the team away, and every time it just doesn't work. That was the last time I was a fan for a Clemson game was when we played Florida State last year. And the same type of feelings came back.
Well, you need to stop going as a fan. You need to stop going as a fan.
That is fair. But I most likely got 1 or 2 more in me.
I'm just kidding.
Again, it's just you just got to finish off on plays. You just got to close out. And finish is the big thing at Dabo Swinney's this whole offseason camp. And so far, I haven't seen it besides the Pittsburgh game. But I haven't seen it against a top 25 opponent, and you've had 3 chances. Louisville, Georgia, South Carolina, and just have been unable to do so. Prove
Yep.
me wrong this week.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
I'm throwing this out there. Then we're talking about Clemson versus SMU. The refs are idiots. They're idiots. My only thought on this, remove clear and convincing from the verbiage as it pertains to replay reviews, because clear and convincing obviously doesn't really matter. I mean, it wasn't a fun. Maffa recovered the ball. He's laying on the ground, elbows, knees, every other part of his physical anatomy is laying on the ground with clear possession of the ball. Bryant Wesco caught the ball on the sideline. Clearly. It was
There's a
rolling catch
picture
on
of
the
that.
field. Look at this. Look at the still shots. Remove clear and convincing from the verbiage, because if that's the basis for what we go by to overturn a call, there was no clear and convincing evidence anywhere.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not getting on that soapbox. All right, before we go any further, let's give a shout out to one of our fine sponsors, Venture Concrete in Greenville, South Carolina, where concrete meets excellence. Transform your property with the help of our expert concrete services. And at Venture Concrete Greenville, we pride ourselves on delivering top-notch, licensed, and insured concrete services to homeowners all over the Greenville area. From driveways to patios to building slabs, our team of trained professionals can handle any residential project with ease and expertise. Venture Concrete is owned and operated by Clemson Tigers, serving Clemson Tigers and the upstate of South Carolina. You are always on solid ground with Venture Concrete. This coming Saturday, Clemson heading to Charlotte. Man, that feels like we're reuniting with a long-lost love. Just seems like it's been forever since we played at Bank of America Stadium. Mm-hmm. But after all of the heartbreak, the adversity, the burrs in the backsides in the 2024 season, toss all of it out the window. If Clemson wins Saturday, then we're going back to the college football playoff, and you want to talk about a reunion that will be well overdue. What's your initial thoughts on Saturday?
With me, again, like you said, the object is simple. It's not as complicated as South Carolina was. It wasn't as complicated as Pitt, Virginia Tech, trying to stay on the hobby horse and continue to go and pray for a loss. You got that loss. You got multiple losses from Miami. Now here's your chance. All you have to do is win the game. You don't have to worry about anybody else. You don't have to worry about watching Syracuse, Auburn beat Texas A&M, any games like that. You have that in front of you now, and I think the players know that, which is important. But the thing is, you're playing a team that is going to take advantage of all of the issues that have been going on defense. Yes. With SMU, I mean, they're an incredible team. And you kind of look at their only loss to BYU. That was still the kind of a little bit more of the kinks in the iron, because they were still figuring out a quarterback, whether it was going to be Preston Stone, whether it was going to be Kevin Jennings. But here they are now going full force with Jennings. And, I mean, this is a team that only has allowed a total of 13 points in their last two games. Their defense is very legitimate too. So, again, it's just going to be all on the defensive side. If you are going to extend plays for Jennings and this high-powered offense, which is third in the country in points, and I see a game like Georgia, I see a game like Louisville. But if you're able to force turnovers and you're able to get the offense moving and you're able to put the game in your rhythm and your possession and execute in the places where it matters most, if you need to get a score, you get an extra, then I can see this team winning. But, I mean, if we're looking at all the narratives of the last few games over the last 3 seasons, I just don't see this happening. I really don't. I hope they prove me wrong. But if they don't, then you have to start looking at the front office.
Yeah, well, here's what I'll say, man. We got the turnovers last game.
Yeah.
We got the turnovers. We won the turnover battle. And if the offense just converts on one of those turnovers, or I can't remember if we converted on one of them or not, but I know at least 2 of them we didn't. And if you convert on 2 of those turnovers, with the way we could throw over the top, and I think if we can get turnovers like we did, like we can, I know we can, then we just need to convert off those turnovers. And if we can do that, And the defense, and he plays Sammy Brown the entire time, and they run a 3-4 or a 4-3. What is it? 4 down, 3 linebackers. And play that the entire time. Like I mean, I know they throw the ball a lot, but I still think you need Sammy Brown in that game. You need Sammy Brown in that game.
Yeah, you really do. And I'll be perfectly honest. Griff, I'm kind of a little bit aligned with your train of thought here. Clemson's good enough to win this game. They're good enough to win it by multiple scores. Look, stack player to player, position to position. Talent-wise, Clemson's the better football team. They're hands down the better football team. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're more physical in all likelihood. But I'm just not convinced that this Clemson team, just as last year and the year before that were, have the mental makeup. I just don't know that they do. I hope they win, but just to kind of piggyback on what you and Cliff were saying. Look, Kevin Jennings, who SMU they rolled with him at quarterback, 2,746 yards passing. Brashard Smith is their leading rusher, 1,157 yards rushing. Roderick Daniels at receiver has 502 receiving yards. But it's a very balanced receiving core. You've got Daniels at 502, Keyshawn Smith 499, Jordan Hudson 363, RJ Maryland 359. This is a team that has a lot of playmakers, and they have them at every level. That stretches a defense really, really thin. And for a defense that right now is having trouble tackling and wrapping up, if they can't do it against a one-man show, how are you going to do it against an entire cornucopia of playmakers that just keep spilling its riches out all over the field?
I completely agree with that. I mean, I looked at them. They had 5 receivers or tight end. I know Maryland runs tight end 300 yards or more. And then there's, I believe, like 275 receiver yards. So they like to switch it up. They like to make it balanced, which makes them incredibly dangerous. The only give that I would have, kind of just due to how their schedule has looked, but again, this can change, but those typical teams that like to remain in those close games have, I mean, for me, I could see a way Clemson wins this game. I mean, you look at Louisville, they won, SMU won by 7, Duke, they won by 1 point at Duke, Pitt, they won by 23, and then they've kind of just been on this heater since, where they won by 2 touchdowns against Boston College. They blew out Virginia. They blew out Cal. So again, they're just playing the right football at the right time. You got to give credit to the coaching staff there. You got to give credit to the players. They simply want it. I don't think anybody believed that SMU were going to be in college football playoff talks on December 1st, 6 months ago. So Credit to them. They truly don't have anything to lose. All their players are young. They'll use the portal, and they'll just come back next year. Clemson has a lot to lose, especially if you're a coach on that coaching staff, especially if you're a player. Because I told a lot of my friends going into South Carolina's game, it's going to be the most influential Palmetto Bowl history, because we're still looking for that big win that we haven't had over the last 3 years. This is your chance to get it. But it's against an offense that just has way too many tools that can penetrate you at any point.
Well, and I'll say this about their game against Boston College. That score was actually, it looked more lopsided than what it was. It was a 6-point game. I think SMU led by 6, and Boston College had the ball and were driving to win. And memory serves, it was a fumble or interception or something to that nature, or they turned it over on downs deep inside their own territory, did Boston College, and SMU snapped the ball one time and scored on short field. So, I don't think 14 points, but it was far closer than that. But again, your point is valid. It's a team that's hot. It's a team that's playing inspired football. And really, it's a team that's doing everything right now that Clemson's not doing.
Exactly.
And Cliff, you're on mute, buddy.
Mute still. Okay. So I'm going to say this. And this is a little caveat, maybe. I don't know. How many times has SMU been to a title game? 0. How many times has Clemson been to a title game? Almost 9. This is their 9th in the past 13 years.
But
Okay.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that.
I know. Let me finish.
How many players on this current Clemson roster have played in a title game?
I got you. Very, very little. Starters, at least, I'll say that. But I think, just about every coach we have, except for Riley, has played has coached in a ACC championship game. And
Garrett Riley coached in a national championship.
Exactly. That was the next thing out of my mouth. Okay. And so they're just going to pass that experience on. And that's where I'm going to push back a little bit, because my thing is, I've got confidence until I see that they don't have the confidence. And that's just where I am. And, I think we have experience going into games like this. And yes, their offense is very, very good. But we'll see, I mean, you just don't know till the ball's kicked off, like how people are going to react and how people are going to play. Because the last time Cade played in an ACC championship game, he went off.
Yeah.
So,
and he did, and fair point. And this, even just very briefly going back to the South Carolina game, Cade Klubnik played a good ball game. He played his butt off. Football right now. I'm not pinning a loss on one play made by one player within an entirety of a ball game.
No,
because Cade Klubnik should never have been in a position to where he had to lead a length of the field drive with 1 minute and 8 seconds to play.
No.
That's not on him. Right now, I trust Cade Klubnik and trust him on this stage as much as I trust any other Clemson player.
Yeah.
Now, while we're talking about things on the offensive side of the ball, receiver-wise, you're in good shape. Look.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the receivers.
Right. Williams, Wesco, Moore, Klubnik, they're playing good ball right now. Not the offensive line came back with a vengeance. I think we're set. We're good there. But for the love of Christ, please give Jay Haynes more touches.
Yeah.
If for no other reason than it is blatantly obvious Phil Maffa is not healthy.
Yeah. But I don't think that's going to happen because he's a senior, man. And my thing is, if we can push their defensive line back, then we should be able to get 2 to 3 yards with Maffa every time, except for 4th and 1. And I don't know. I think on that 4th and 1, like, you got to put Jay Haynes in there and pitch it out to the outside and let him beat somebody to the outside. That's where I was on that play.
I would have gone speed over power all day.
Yeah, and then if you don't get it, you don't get it.
Right. No, I like the call going for it. I'm the same. I would have done it too. I would have gone for it too. Zero problems. But yeah, go with your speed guy.
Yeah. So
and guys, I think to me this is a game of speed.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday is going to be a game of speed because you see the speed in the skill positions on both sides of the ball, particularly at receiver. Those are proven commodities. Let me backtrack. It's both teams possess a world of speed. Where the game could turn, and I'm with Cliff on this, are the lines of scrimmage. Clemson's going to have the bigger O-line. They're going to have the bigger and more talented defensive line. For Clemson to have any chance to win, they're almost going to they're going to have to play bully ball. They're going to have to bully SMU around up front on the lines of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Just beat them down. Little by little, blow by blow, get them tired.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to beat them. If you beat them, that's how you're going to do it.
Yeah, and keep their offense off the field.
Right.
Yeah. Have 18, 19, I don't know, 15 play drives, you know. I mean, you just got to do it and convert. So,
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Now, this is maybe not germane to the game itself, but and if either of you know better than me on this, then by all means, because I haven't really read too much into it. But if Clemson wins this ball game, obviously as a conference champion, they get an automatic berth. But there's no guarantee that they would get a first round bye because that goes to the 4 highest ranked conference champions. But has there been anything written or any type of speculation out there about who Clemson might possibly play if they win?
well, hold on. I got an email from the ACC saying Clemson, if the winner of this game will get a bye.
Okay.
That's what they said, and they have a whole article on their website about the Peach Bowl. I got an email from the Peach Bowl, so saying that the winner of this game will get a bye because the Peach Bowl gets the first pick.
Okay.
I mean that's what I understand.
With who they would play. If you get that bye, you're the 4. If you don't get that bye, you're the 12. So you're most likely going to run into that 5 seed. So with that being said, it's not going to be. I think Oregon beats Penn State. I think that Oregon are going to be the other bye. If you look at the SEC, I honestly think that's a toss-up. I think that it could be a combination. If Texas loses, you might have to go to. It might be Texas. If again, I don't think Georgia will beat Texas. Penn State, I've heard. I think they'll drop. Kind of just bigger teams like that aren't going to win the conference. So I think a trio of Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, or Penn State. I think those all could be. But if Oregon loses, I think you're going to run into Oregon at some point. I don't think they do though.
Right, and you're speaking on that as are you considering that with the first round bye, or if Clemson does not have a first round bye?
I think it's both, because if Clemson do not get that first round bye, they're going to be put at the 12. 12 has to play the 5. If you're at the 4, because I don't think they'll get the 3. I think that I don't really know. But if you get the 4 seed, you're going to have to play most of the winner of 5 or 12. It's probably going to be the 5 seed. I don't really trust the group of 5, Big 12, to get that win. But if Clemson, if the ACC gives them the 3 seed, again, kind of the next combo between, like I said earlier, Georgia, Penn State, Tennessee, one of those 3 teams, unless there's an upset, but I really don't see that happening. I think that it's going to end up being one of those big SEC, Big 10 schools. I could be completely wrong though, but that's what I've seen kind of unfold. But of course, we'll see as it goes on.
The winner of the SMU Clemson Showdown in Charlotte should be in prime position to receive a top 4 seed in the bracket, earning them a first round bye, likely a trip to a New Year's Six. That comes straight from a Peach Bowl representative. And then they have this article explaining why. So
it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes up. But needless to say, glad to have Clemson playing another game on Saturday. Didn't think about 3:30 yesterday afternoon we'd be saying that. I figured we would all be sitting around to see what mid-December, mid-level ball game we'd get stuck into. But, hey, look, hope springs eternal. So let's just go into Charlotte on Saturday and get it done. To that end, all right, you've heard us allude to it out there, so let's throw some predictions out here. And Cliff,
Lord. I don't want to go.
We'll go right to left. We'll start with you, man.
I haven't really thought. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It just happened yesterday. I know you are, and I think SMU can score some points. I think Clemson has the ability to score points. So I'm gonna pick Clemson, and this is going out stretching it a little bit, but I'm gonna say 35-32.
Okay.
Clemson.
My pick, I think that you're going to see you're going to see a team that knows how to play in a championship game, which is Clemson, but you know the team with more upside, and that's SMU. With how I think this game is going to go, I've only picked against Clemson once on this podcast. That was Notre Dame.
Georgia?
I did pick Georgia too. But still, I think that you're going to see Clemson first, second half. I think that they're going to keep it close, perhaps going to the lead. But I think what you've seen during these third and fourth quarters with games like Georgia, games like Louisville, that fourth quarter against South Carolina, I think that this Clemson defense is just going to create plays that extend. And this is the downfall of this team. I think SMU just you begin to see that offense a little bit more. I hope I'm wrong. I have SMU winning 34-24.
Could easily see it. I'm not picking against Clemson. I'm not, but that's only the fan in me.
Mm-hmm.
That's just that is my irrational bleeding heart and not my logical thinking brain. But I'm not going to pick against them. I very easily could see SMU winning this ball game. But here is my caveat. Something will awaken inside this Clemson team that has heretofore not yet emerged from its slumber. I don't know what, I don't know how, but it's going to happen. It will be a close ball game. I will have a few more years taken off of my life, and I will add a few more gray hairs to my collection. But somewhere along the line is going to make a big play. I can see this game, honestly, going the way of the Pitt game. It might be Cade Klubnik with a huge run late in the ball game. But Clemson's finally going to get the one big play in crunch time that they've been looking for. SMU can score. They're going to score. But I think Clemson can score on them too. In a high-scoring game, Clemson 38, SMU 35.
So we're close.
Big classic.
We're about
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. But as we said, glad to be playing again on Saturday. And you know, it's funny, Cliff. I was having dinner with my family last night. We were down in Murrells Inlet, and my phone was about to die. It was at like 2%. And I happened to look down and I had a missed call and I saw it was Anthony, and I knew the two of you were riding together. And I was like, oh crap, let me put it on the charger real quick and call them back and see what they want. And I got it up to about 6-7%, and I called Anthony back, and the first thing I hear was, "Woo, hell yeah, we're going to Charlotte." So hey, look. Sometimes you've got to have a short memory, man. You got to flush it down the drain and get ready for the next one. So hopefully that's what the Clemson Tigers can do this week.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Yeah. Let's hope so. That's all you can do.
All right, guys. Well, as always, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully the next time we're doing an episode of Around the Paw, we're talking about the first trip to the college football playoffs since 2020. Man, that would sure be nice to kick off the Christmas season. But, hey, come heck or high water, we're playing football on Saturday. So until next time, we'll be back to break it all down for you. I'm Garrett Mitchell, along with Griffin Barfield and Clifton Kennedy. This is your neighborhood-friendly Around the Paw crew saying so long. It's a great day to be a Clemson Tiger, and go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.